The night sky on Earth was quiet. A small, strange spaceship zoomed through the dark, leaving a trail of light. It was the first time aliens had come so close to Earth. The spaceship, made of shining metal, hovered above the clouds. Inside, a group of alien explorers sat in their seats, staring at their planet's newest discovery. The leader of the group, Sailor, was the first to speak. "This is it," he said. "The most dangerous planet in the galaxy. I have heard many stories, but I still don't believe them. We will see for ourselves." His crew members looked out of the spaceship windows. They saw the bright lights of cities below, but they also saw large dark areas, wild forests, and dangerous places where nothing could survive. They were all excited, but also a little scared. Zeller had heard rumors about Earth. Some said that humans, the creatures living on this planet, were weak. Others said humans were smart and dangerous, able to survive even the worst threats. But Sailor was sure that nothing could live on a planet so deadly. "Let's land," he ordered. "We need to learn about these humans." The spaceship slowly descended, cutting through the clouds. Below them, Earth looked like a giant green and blue ball, with huge oceans and big mountains. There were places covered with thick forests, and places where the ground was dry and cracked. The crew saw storms moving across the planet's surface, with lightning flashing and winds howling. They couldn't believe how wild the planet was. As the spaceship landed, the crew members put on their helmets and checked their equipment. They were ready to explore. The door of the spaceship opened with a loud hiss, and cool air rushed inside. It smelled strange, like wet grass and something more powerful. They stepped out onto the planet's surface. The ground beneath their feet felt soft. The grass was tall and thick, waving in the wind. Zeller looked around. The planet was beautiful, but also terrifying. Giant trees rose high into the sky, their branches twisting like arms. Birds with bright feathers flew above them, making strange sounds. There was a noise in the distance, something big moving through the forest. Maybe an animal, or maybe something worse. "Stay alert," Zeller ordered. "Let's move out slowly. We need to see if the rumors are true." As they walked, the aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. There were no huge beasts running wild, no explosions or giant storms that could kill them. Instead, they saw strange, small creatures moving around, things like insects and birds that seemed to live peacefully. But they couldn't shake the feeling that something dangerous was close. After a while, they heard footsteps. The aliens froze. In the distance, they saw humans, strange creatures walking on two legs. They were moving through the tall grass, talking to each other in a language the aliens couldn't understand. The humans looked different from what the aliens had imagined. They weren't weak. They were strong, with muscles that showed they could survive in this wild world. One of the humans looked up and saw the aliens. He stopped and pointed. The others turned around and stared at the aliens too. The aliens were surprised. These humans didn't run away or hide in fear. Instead, they stood their ground, watching the aliens closely. Zeller stepped forward, trying to look as calm as possible. "We come in peace," he said, though the humans didn't understand his words. The humans didn't seem scared. In fact, they seemed curious, just like the aliens. Slowly, one human walked closer. He was tall, wearing a strange outfit made of leather and fur. His eyes were sharp, and his face looked strong. The alien crew looked at each other nervously. What would the humans do next? The human stopped in front of Sailor and looked at him. Then he reached out his hand. It was a strange gesture. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Was it a sign of peace, or was it a trick? But Sailor knew that if he didn't try, they might never learn anything about these humans. He slowly reached out his hand, and the human shook it firmly. The crew watched in surprise. They had expected something completely different, maybe an attack or a warning. But instead, the human gave them a friendly handshake. "Welcome," The human said in simple words, "Earth is our home." Zalor couldn't believe it. These humans weren't scared. They weren't hiding. They weren't weak. They were living, thriving, and even offering a handshake. Zalor looked around, still unsure about the planet. It was dangerous, yes, but something about these humans made him think they could survive anything. As the crew followed the human leader through the thick grass, they kept looking around. Earth was a place of danger, but it was also a place where life seemed to fight back. The humans weren't afraid. They had learned to live with the dangers, even make them part of their world. The aliens had come expecting to find a planet filled with fear. Instead, they found a world full of life and strength. They couldn't understand how humans had managed to survive, but they were about to learn just how incredible these humans were. Zalor and his crew walked deeper into the wild forests of Earth. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and plants. Tall trees surrounded them, their branches twisting high into the sky. Birds with strange colors flew past, and insects buzzed all around. The ground was soft, and the path ahead was hidden by thick bushes and grasses. The aliens had expected to find humans hiding from the dangers of Earth, trembling in fear. Instead, what they saw shocked them. Ahead, in a clearing, a group of humans was working together. Some were building shelters made of branches, while others were carefully planting seeds into the ground. They moved quickly and efficiently, like they had done this many times before. But what really surprised Zalor was that the humans didn't seem afraid of the many dangers around them. There were giant predators nearby, but the humans seemed confident, even calm. One human, a woman, held a long spear in her hand. She walked carefully into the woods, her eyes sharp. She wasn't afraid of the creatures that might be hiding in the trees. The aliens watched as she moved silently, listening to the sounds of the forest. She stepped carefully over the leaves and branches, her senses alive. Zalor leaned closer to his crew. "Look at her. She walks like she owns the forest. She's not afraid of anything." The woman stopped near a large bush and crouched down. She gently pushed the branches aside and looked carefully at the ground. There, lying in the grass, was a dangerous creature, a wild beast with sharp teeth and thick, leathery skin. It was the size of a small elephant, and its glowing eyes watched the woman closely. But instead of running or attacking, the woman stood still. She didn't make a sound. Slowly, she reached into her bag and pulled out a strange whistle. She blew it softly, and the sound filled the air. The creature's eyes softened, and it lowered its head. The woman approached it, carefully and slowly. With a gentle hand, she placed it on the creature's large head. The beast didn't fight back. Instead, it seemed to trust her. She tamed the beast. One of the aliens whispered in disbelief. "How did she do that?" The woman smiled as the creature let out a soft grunt. She rubbed its head, and then, as if giving an order, she turned and walked back to the camp. The beast followed her, its giant feet making heavy thuds on the ground. The aliens couldn't believe their eyes. This woman had just tamed one of Earth's deadliest creatures. How was that even possible? Zalor had expected humans to run from danger, not make it their ally. The aliens watched as the woman returned to the camp with the creature following her like a pet. The other humans greeted her with smiles. She spoke to them in a language that the aliens didn't understand, but the tone of her voice was warm and friendly. "This planet is amazing," one of the alien crew members said. "It's like the humans have learned to live with everything on it. Not only do they survive, but they make the dangerous creatures part of their world." Zalor nodded. He had been sent to learn about these humans, but nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing. The humans weren't hiding from the dangers. They were living with them. They had learned to control the wild beasts, grow their own food, and build homes in the most dangerous places. As they continued their walk, the aliens saw more examples of human survival. They came across a group of men who were digging deep holes in the ground. The aliens couldn't understand at first, but then they saw the humans pulling out giant roots from the soil. The roots were thick and strong, and they looked like they could feed a whole village. The aliens realized that these humans knew how to use the land to grow food, even in a place like this, where most plants wouldn't survive. Further down the path, they saw more humans building homes. These homes were not made of wood or stone like the aliens had expected. Instead, they were built from the very trees and plants of the forest, carefully arranged to blend in with the environment. The homes were safe from the creatures that roamed the land, and they were strong enough to withstand the fierce storms that often swept through the planet. Zelor felt a strange mix of respect and confusion. How had these humans learned to survive in such a harsh place? How had they managed to build such strong homes, grow food, and tame deadly beasts without the advanced technology that the aliens had? The more he watched, the more he realized that humans had something special, something that allowed them to survive on Earth, the deadliest planet in the galaxy. As the day ended, the humans gathered around a large fire. They sat together, talking and laughing. Some of them played simple music on instruments made from wood and bone. The aliens watched from the shadows, still unsure of what to make of these humans. They had come to Earth thinking it was a planet of death and danger. But now, they saw something different. The humans weren't just surviving. They were thriving. Zelor looked at his crew. We came here thinking humans were weak. But now, I'm not so sure. These people aren't just surviving. They are mastering this planet. The aliens stood in silence, realizing that they were witnessing something incredible. Humans weren't just living on Earth. They were making it their home, no matter how deadly it was. And that made them more powerful than the aliens had ever imagined. After spending a few days on Earth, Sadler and his crew started to feel a little more comfortable. They had seen many strange things, but they still believed that humans were nothing more than survivors. The aliens couldn't shake the idea that Earth's dangers were the only reason humans had managed to stay alive. I still don't understand it, one of the crew members said as they walked through the forest. How can they live with these monsters and storms? They must be lucky, right? Zeller nodded. Yes, they are lucky. They have learned to survive, but they are not strong. We have technology, weapons, and skills that they can't even imagine. We just need to keep watching, and we will see their weakness. They continued to watch humans, waiting for a mistake, something that would prove their belief. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to find weak creatures who could easily be controlled, but every time they thought they had found something, they were left surprised and confused. One day, the aliens saw a group of humans out in the open. The humans were working near a dangerous cliff, close to a fast-moving river. The aliens watched from behind a large tree, thinking this would be the perfect opportunity to see how fragile humans really were. The cliff was unstable, and the river's water was wild and strong. Surely, this was a place where humans could make a mistake. Zaylor smiled. Look at them. They have no fear of the cliff. They are foolish to be so close. The humans were building something near the edge. A few were digging into the ground, while others carried heavy stones. They moved quickly and carefully, working as if they were not worried at all about falling into the dangerous river below. Suddenly, one of the stones slipped from a worker's hands. It rolled towards the edge of the cliff. The alien crew gasped, thinking the stone would fall into the river below and cause a disaster. But instead of running or panicking, the human closest to the stone reached out with a quick movement, grabbing it just in time. "Did you see that?" One of the aliens whispered. "How did he move so fast? He didn't even look afraid." Zeller's face was serious. "This is just luck. He's careful, but that doesn't mean humans are strong. They are just surviving, using their surroundings." They continued to watch the humans as they worked. As the day went on, the aliens started to notice something strange. The humans were always alert. They were always looking out for danger, always ready for anything. It was as if they had been trained by Earth's dangers, learning to move with the planet rather than against it. Later, the aliens watched as a group of humans made their way through a thick jungle. The air was heavy, and the trees were tall and thick. The sounds of hidden creatures echoed all around them. The aliens expected the humans to be afraid, to hesitate. But they didn't. The humans moved like they knew exactly where to go. One man led the way, his face calm and focused. Behind him, the others followed without a sound, stepping carefully, not disturbing the jungle around them. They passed large, dangerous creatures, but none of the humans seemed scared. Instead, they moved quickly, and when a dangerous creature came too close, they used clever tools to distract it or move it away. Zaylor couldn't believe his eyes. "How do they do this?" he muttered. "These humans aren't afraid of anything. They are always prepared." He turned to his crew. "They are nothing more than survivors. They don't understand true strength. We have the technology to defeat them any time." But deep down, Sailor began to feel uneasy. The longer they stayed on Earth, the more he realized something strange. The humans weren't just surviving. They were thriving in ways the aliens couldn't explain. The aliens had come to Earth thinking they would find weak creatures. Instead, they saw humans working with the planet's dangers, learning from them, and using their environment to their advantage. That night, the aliens sat around their camp, discussing their findings. Sailor stared into the fire, trying to make sense of everything. "We were wrong," he said slowly. "At first, we thought humans were just lucky. But now, I'm not sure. They are not weak. They are adapting to the dangers of Earth in ways we don't understand. It's like they've learned to fight back against this world." His crew members nodded, but one of them spoke up. "But they're still only surviving. That doesn't mean they're strong." Zaylor stood up, his voice cold. "We will find their weakness. We just have to keep watching. And when the time comes, we will show them who is truly the strongest." But inside, Zaylor felt a growing sense of doubt. The humans had surprised him again. Every time he thought they were weak, they proved him wrong. He was beginning to wonder if Earth's deadly environment had done more than just help humans survive. It had made them stronger. The aliens were still sure they could defeat the humans. They had the power, the technology, and the weapons. But the longer they watched, the more they began to realize that the humans were more than just survivors. They were warriors, born and made by Earth itself. And that scared Sailor more than he was willing to admit. Zaylor sat quietly by the fire, staring at the flames. The more he thought about the humans, the more puzzled he became. They weren't like anything he had expected. They weren't just surviving. They were thriving in ways no other species could. Every day, the aliens saw something new, something that made them question everything they thought they knew. The next morning, Sailor and his crew set out again, this time to observe more closely how humans dealt with danger. They had already seen how the humans lived in the harsh environment, but now they wanted to understand what made them so strong. Could it be their technology, or was it something else? As they walked deeper into the jungle, the crew spotted a group of humans at the edge of a steep mountain. They were preparing to climb, each person carrying a rope and a few simple tools. It seemed like a risky move, and Sailor was curious to see how they would handle it. One by one, the humans began their climb, moving with skill and confidence. They used the ropes to secure themselves, but they didn't look nervous. They moved quickly, scaling the rocky surface with ease. Zaylor had seen many species try to climb difficult terrain before, but none of them had moved with such purpose and strength. Every step seemed calculated, yet effortless. "Look at them," one of the aliens said. "They're not afraid. They're moving like this is second nature to them." Zaylor nodded, but he wasn't impressed yet. "They are skilled, yes, but it's just a mountain. We could easily conquer it with our technology. This means nothing." As the humans neared the top, Zaylor's attitude began to change. A loud roar echoed through the air. A massive creature, larger than anything they had seen before, appeared at the top of the mountain. It was a giant predator, with sharp claws and teeth, its fur thick and bristling with aggression. The humans didn't panic. Instead, they acted as if they had planned for this moment. A woman at the front of the group pulled out a long spear and held it in front of her. The creature growled, glaring down at the humans, its eyes burning with hunger. Zalor was ready to see them fail. They can't possibly fight this creature, he thought. It's too powerful for them. But to his shock, the humans didn't run. Instead, they surrounded the creature in a tight circle. The woman with the spear led the charge, lunging forward with incredible speed. She dodged the creature's claws and thrust the spear into its side. The predator howled in pain but didn't retreat. The humans pressed on, working together as a team. One by one, the other humans moved in, distracting the creature and striking at its weak points. Zalor couldn't believe what he was seeing. They were working together, using their strength and strategy to fight a creature far stronger than any one of them. The battle was over in minutes. The creature, stunned and injured, finally retreated into the jungle, its roar fading into the distance. The humans stood victorious, breathing heavily but calm. They had fought not with advanced weapons or technology, but with teamwork, courage, and raw strength. The aliens watched in silence, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. They beat it, one of the crew members said, his voice filled with disbelief. They fought that beast and won. Zalor felt a knot form in his stomach. He had underestimated the humans. They were not just survivors. They were fighters. They had strength that went beyond physical power. They had a will to survive that seemed unbreakable. As the humans celebrated their victory, Zalor and his crew watched from the shadows. "This is not what I expected," Zalor admitted. "They are not just using Earth's dangers to survive. They are overcoming them." The humans didn't rely on technology to defeat the predator. They used their minds, their strength, and their unity. They knew how to work together as a team, how to use their surroundings to their advantage. It wasn't just survival. It was strength in every sense of the word. The crew continued to observe, and over the next few days, they saw more examples of human strength. They watched as humans lifted heavy logs to build shelters, carried large loads across difficult terrain, and protected each other from the dangers of the planet. But what stood out the most was their ability to never give up. No matter how hard the task was, no matter how dangerous the creature or the storm, the humans always pushed forward. Zalor began to feel something he had never felt before: respect. He had come to Earth expecting to find a weak, fragile species, easy to control. But now, he saw that humans had something far more dangerous: strength born from their will to survive, a strength that no alien weapon or technology could easily destroy. "They are not like us," Zalor said quietly. "They are stronger than we thought, and we have underestimated them." His crew nodded, realizing that the humans were far more than just survivors. They were powerful in ways the aliens couldn't understand, and that made them a threat that wasn't easily defeated. Zalor sat in the control room of his ship, watching the humans below. His mind was filled with thoughts, none of them comforting. The more he saw, the more he realized that the humans were far stronger than he had ever imagined. They were no ordinary species. They were powerful in ways he couldn't explain. "We need to test them," Zalor said, his voice firm. His crew looked at him in surprise. "What do you mean? Haven't we seen enough already?" Zalor turned to face them, his eyes cold. "They are too strong. We need to see just how far they can go. We need to push them to their limits." He had seen the humans fight, survive, and work together. But he wasn't sure if they had the strength to face a true challenge. If they could overcome what he was planning, maybe, just maybe, they could prove themselves worthy of respect. The next morning, the aliens set their plan in motion. They sent a group of their best warriors to Earth. The warriors were equipped with advanced weapons and technology, ready to test the humans. Zeller watched from his ship, ready to see how the humans would respond to the threat. The warriors landed in a remote area of the jungle, far from any human settlements. They were hidden, watching carefully, waiting for the humans to approach. Zeller believed this would be the perfect place to see how the humans reacted to true danger. If they couldn't face this challenge, then Zeller would know they were not as strong as he thought. Hours passed, and nothing happened. The aliens were getting impatient. They had expected the humans to find them by now, to show their usual strength and courage. But the humans didn't come. Instead, Zeller's crew grew worried. "Maybe they know we're here," one of the aliens said. "What if they're afraid?" "No," Zeller replied. "They're not afraid. They're smarter than that. They're waiting, observing. They will come." Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a group of humans appeared. They moved carefully through the jungle, their eyes scanning the area for danger. Zeller watched closely, curious to see how they would react when they discovered the aliens. The humans didn't seem surprised. They moved with the same confidence they always had. But this time, there was a difference. They didn't just walk into danger, they were prepared. Zeller's crew saw it too. The humans had come with weapons, simple tools, but tools that showed they were ready for whatever challenge lay ahead. They had learned from their environment, using the knowledge they had gained over the years to prepare for any threat. They weren't just surviving, they were adapting. The aliens waited for the humans to get closer. When they were within range, Zeller gave the order. The alien warriors leaped from their hiding places, charging toward the humans with speed and power. The humans didn't flinch. They moved into action immediately. One of the humans pulled a device from his belt. It glowed brightly, releasing a pulse of energy that sent one of the alien warriors flying backwards. The other humans quickly surrounded the warrior, using their weapons and strength to force him back. They didn't fight like a group of individuals. They fought as one, moving together in perfect harmony. Zeller watched with shock as the humans fought with such skill. They weren't just defending themselves. They were attacking, taking control of the situation. The alien warriors tried to fight back, but they were overwhelmed by the human speed and strength. At first, Zeller thought the aliens would win. They had advanced technology and weapons far beyond anything the humans had ever seen. But the humans were different. They used their surroundings to their advantage. They worked together like a well-oiled machine. And they fought with a passion that made them nearly impossible to defeat. After a long and fierce battle, the alien warriors were forced to retreat. The humans stood victorious, breathing heavily but calm. Their teamwork, their strength, and their ability to adapt had won the day. Zeller felt a strange mixture of respect and fear. He had sent his best warriors, equipped with the best technology, and the humans had defeated them. It wasn't just luck. It was skill, intelligence, and a strength that went beyond anything Zeller had ever expected. His crew looked at him, waiting for his reaction. Zeller stood silently, his thoughts racing. "We were wrong," he finally said, his voice quiet. "The humans are stronger than we ever thought." The crew members exchanged glances, unsure of what to say. They had seen the humans fight, and they couldn't deny what they had witnessed. The humans weren't just survivors. They were warriors, warriors who were willing to do whatever it took to protect their world and each other. "We have to leave," Zeller said after a long pause. "We underestimated them. We've made a grave mistake." As the alien ship lifted off the ground, leaving Earth behind, Zeller looked out at the planet below. The humans had passed the test. They had proven themselves worthy of survival, worthy of respect. Zeller didn't know what the future held for them, but one thing was clear: humans were not to be underestimated. They had strength in ways no one could understand, and it was a strength that couldn't be broken. Zeller couldn't stop thinking about the humans. Everything he had believed about them was wrong. His crew was still shocked from the test, and many of them were now questioning their mission. How could such a small, fragile species be so strong? How could they defeat warriors like theirs, with nothing but their will and simple tools? As Skylar stood by the window of the ship, looking at the planet below, his thoughts were full of doubt. He had come to Earth believing it was just another weak world, one that would fall easily to the strength of the galactic empire. But he had been wrong. The humans had proven that their strength went beyond what he could see or understand. He turned to his crew. "We can't continue this mission. Not now, not after what we saw." The crew looked at him, surprised. "What do you mean? We came here to conquer this planet. We can't just leave." Zelor shook his head. "We were sent to conquer them, yes. But now, I see that these humans aren't like any other species we've encountered. They are not easy to defeat. They have something inside them, something we can't control or destroy." "But we are stronger," one of the aliens said, unsure of himself. "We have technology, weapons, everything we need to defeat them." Zelor looked at his crew, his expression serious. "It's not just about strength or technology. It's their spirit, their will. They fight together, they survive together. Their strength is not in their weapons, but in their hearts and minds. I have never seen anything like it." The crew fell silent. The words echoed in their minds. The humans had done something no one expected. They had proven that raw strength and advanced technology were not enough. It was something deeper, something that could not be measured by power alone. As the days passed, Sailor and his crew continued to observe the humans from their ship. They watched as the humans went about their daily lives, working together, building, learning, and surviving. They saw the humans face dangers and come out stronger each time. Zelda realized that the strength the humans had was not just physical. It was their ability to adapt, to grow, to face impossible odds and still stand tall. One day, Sailor made a decision. He ordered the crew to land the ship, and for the first time, he intended to speak to the humans face to face. The crew was nervous, but Sailor knew this was the only way to understand them. They had to see the humans not as enemies, but as equals. The ship descended slowly, landing in a quiet area near one of the human settlements. As the door opened, Sailor stepped out, followed by his crew. The humans were nearby, and they didn't look afraid. Instead, they watched with curiosity. Sailor took a deep breath and walked toward them. The humans didn't run. They didn't attack. Instead, they waited. The leader of the human group, a man with a calm expression, stepped forward. "You came here to fight us, didn't you?" the man asked. Sailor nodded slowly. "Yes, we came here to test you, to see if you could survive." The man smiled slightly. "And you found that we can." Sailor was taken aback. "You knew all along, didn't you?" The man nodded. "We knew that we would survive. We knew that we could face whatever came our way. But we also knew that it wasn't just about survival. It was about how we do it. Together." Sailor stood silent for a moment, processing the words. The human's calm strength was something Sailor had never seen before. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about working together, about living with purpose and unity. "You are stronger than I ever imagined," Sailor admitted. "We thought you would fall, but instead, you stand tall. Your strength is not in your weapons, but in your hearts." The man looked at him with understanding. "We are not perfect. We have flaws, just like every species. But we do not give up. We keep going, no matter what. That is what makes us strong." Sailor nodded, a new respect growing inside him. The humans were not just a species to be conquered. They were a species to be respected. They had proven that strength came in many forms, and that true power wasn't just about size or technology. It was about the will to survive, the courage to fight, and the ability to stand together when everything seemed impossible. As Skylar and his crew left the humans behind, they knew their mission had changed. They had come to Earth with the intent to conquer, but now they had a different perspective. The humans had shown them that true strength wasn't something you could measure with weapons or technology. It was something that came from within, something that couldn't be taken away. Zalor looked out at the vast planet once more. Perhaps in time, we can learn from them, he said quietly. Maybe we don't need to conquer. Maybe we just need to understand. The ship lifted off slowly, leaving Earth behind. Zalor stood at the front of the command room, staring out of the window. His thoughts were heavy. He had come to Earth with the intention to conquer, to prove that the Galactic Empire was superior. But now, he wasn't sure what to think. The humans had changed everything. His crew was silent, each of them lost in their own thoughts. They had witnessed the strength of the humans, their ability to survive, and their unity. It was something none of them had expected. What had started as a mission of domination had turned into a journey of discovery. "We can't go back," one of the crew members said quietly, breaking the silence. Zalor turned to face them. "What do you mean?" "They are different," the crew member continued. "The humans. They are not like any other species we've encountered. They are stronger in ways we can't understand. They fought for their planet, not with technology, but with their hearts." Zalor nodded. "I know. I saw it with my own eyes. They have something that no other species has, something that makes them special." For a long time, the Galactic Empire had believed that strength was determined by weapons and technology. The more advanced a species was, the stronger they were. But the humans had shown them that strength wasn't just about power. It was about the will to survive, the courage to fight, and the bond between individuals. It was about doing whatever it took to protect what mattered. "Maybe we were wrong," Zalor said, his voice quiet. "Maybe we don't need to conquer them. Maybe we need to learn from them." The crew looked at him, surprised. "You want us to turn back, after everything we've done?" Zalor shook his head. "I'm not saying we should go back empty-handed, but we should go back with a new purpose. The humans have taught us something valuable. They've shown us what true strength is." The crew was silent for a moment, thinking about his words. Then, one by one, they nodded. It was hard to admit, but they knew Zalor was right. The humans had proven something that couldn't be ignored. They had proven that strength was more than just technology or weapons. It was something deeper, something that came from within. The next day, Zalor called a meeting with his crew. They had reached a decision. They would no longer be enemies of the humans. Instead, they would work together. They would share knowledge, exchange ideas, and learn from each other. The humans had shown them a new way, and now it was time to embrace it. Zalor addressed his crew. "We will go back to Earth. But this time, we will go as friends, not conquerors. We will offer them our help, our technology, and our wisdom. And in return, we will learn from them. We will learn what makes them so strong." The crew looked at each other, uncertain at first, but then they saw the truth in Zalor's words. The humans had something that could not be ignored. They had a strength that went beyond technology, beyond anything the Galactic Empire had ever known. The ship turned around and made its way back toward Earth. Zalor felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. They were not going to conquer anymore. They were going to build something new. When they landed back on Earth, the humans were waiting for them. They had already heard about the alien ship returning, and they were ready to face whatever came next. But this time, there was no fear in their eyes. Instead, there was curiosity and hope. Zalor stepped forward, his crew behind him. The leader of the humans stepped forward as well. For a moment, there was silence between them. Then, Zalor spoke. "We came here to conquer. But now, we understand that strength isn't just about weapons or technology. It's about the will to survive, the courage to fight, and the unity of a people. We have seen that in you." The human leader nodded, understanding. "And we have seen that in you. We are not so different after all." Zalor smiled, the weight of the past few days lifting from his shoulders. "No, we are not." The two leaders shook hands, a symbol of a new beginning. The Galactic Empire, which had once sought to conquer, was now ready to work with the humans. They would share their knowledge, and the humans would share theirs. Together, they would build something better, a future based on mutual respect and understanding. As Skylar looked at the humans standing around him, he realized that Earth wasn't just a planet worth saving. It was a planet worth learning from. The humans had shown them that true strength came from within, from the heart, and that no empire, no matter how powerful, could ever take that away. It was a new beginning for both the humans and the aliens, a new chapter in the galaxy's story, one where strength wasn't measured by power, but by the will to protect, to grow, and to understand. And with that, Sailor knew that the future would be brighter, not just for Earth, but for all the species in the galaxy. They had all just begun to learn what it meant to be truly strong. The Galactic Council was in chaos. For centuries, they had been the rulers of the galaxy, powerful and wise. They had united hundreds of species, built vast fleets, and maintained peace. But now, everything was falling apart. An enemy had appeared, one they couldn't defeat. This enemy wasn't like anything the galaxy had seen before. They came without warning, destroying entire star systems in days. Their ships were massive and terrifying, with weapons that could pierce the strongest shields. The Galactic Council's fleets, proud and unmatched for centuries, were no match. Every time they sent ships to fight, only a handful returned, battered and broken. On the central planet of the Council, the leaders of the galaxy's most powerful species gathered. The Grand Hall, usually a place of calm debate, was filled with shouting. "This is madness," roared Chancellor Varric, a towering reptilian being. "We have lost over 50 systems in just 1 month. If this continues, none of us will survive." Elder Rin, a wise and ancient being with glowing blue eyes, tried to speak calmly. "We must stay united. Panic will not save us. We need a plan." "A plan," snapped Ambassador Grell, a bird-like creature with sharp talons. "Every plan we've tried has failed. Our fleets are useless against this enemy. Our weapons barely scratch them. Do you have a better idea, Elder?" The hall fell silent. No one had an answer. The enemy's ships were too strong, their numbers too vast. Every tactic the Council tried had failed. Even their most advanced technologies couldn't match the enemy's power. In the corner of the hall, Commander Kale, a grizzled veteran of many battles, stood quietly. He had fought against the enemy and seen their power up close. He had lost half his fleet in one battle and barely escaped alive. "They are not invincible," Kale finally said, his voice firm. "But we are fighting them the wrong way. Our fleets were built for defense, for maintaining order in the galaxy. This enemy doesn't care about order. They only care about destruction." "Then what do you suggest, Commander?" asked Chancellor Varric. Kale hesitated. He knew his suggestion would not be popular. "We need someone who fights like them. Someone unpredictable. Someone who doesn't play by our rules." The room erupted in anger. "Are you suggesting what I think you are?" Ambassador Grell shouted. "You want us to call the humans, those savages." Humans were a controversial topic in the galaxy. They had been invited to join the Council centuries ago, but had refused. They preferred to stay on their own, isolated on their small blue planet. Other species considered them reckless and dangerous. They fought wars among themselves, destroyed their own planet's resources, and seemed to thrive on chaos. But humans were also known for their resilience. They had survived disasters that would have wiped out other species. They were clever, adaptable, and fiercely determined. Yes, Kale said firmly. We need the humans. They think differently than us. They fight differently. If anyone can find a way to stop this enemy, it's them. The room fell into uneasy silence. Finally, Elder Rin spoke. The humans have stayed away from us for a long time. Even if we ask for their help, there's no guarantee they'll agree. They will agree, Kale said, because they won't see this as just our fight. They'll see it as a challenge, and humans never back down from a challenge. After a long debate, the council reluctantly agreed. A team was sent to Earth to ask for help. Some of the ambassadors were furious, while others were too scared to argue. As the meeting ended, Elder Ren looked out at the stars. The galaxy is in danger, he whispered, and our only hope lies with the one species we swore we would never need. Far away on Earth, humanity was unaware of the chaos spreading across the galaxy, but they were about to receive a call that would change everything. For centuries, humans had been alone in the galaxy. The Galactic Council had offered them a seat among the stars, but humans had refused. They had their reasons. Earth was their home, and they wanted no part in the politics of the galaxy. The other species didn't understand them, and the humans didn't care to be understood. Humans were different. They were young compared to the ancient species of the galaxy, but they had something no one else did: determination. Where other species saw problems, humans saw challenges. Where others saw limits, humans saw possibilities. They had survived wars, natural disasters, and even near extinction. And despite all that, they had thrived. The galaxy had watched from afar, thinking humans were reckless, primitive, and wild. Some species thought they would eventually destroy themselves. Others believed that Earth was just another planet that would burn out in time. But they were wrong. In secret, humans were busy building. They were advancing in ways the galaxy had never imagined. Hidden in the vast oceans of their planet, deep underground, and in space, humanity worked without anyone noticing. They developed powerful technologies, built massive warships, and trained soldiers who could survive in the harshest conditions. They didn't rely on the Council for help. They relied on themselves. When the Galactic Council sent its message, begging for help, humanity was shocked. They had been left alone for so long. No one had bothered to contact them in years. To be honest, humans had almost forgotten about the rest of the galaxy. They had their own problems to deal with: wars on their planet, political unrest, and environmental challenges. But the message was clear. The galaxy was in trouble, and they needed humans. President Alina Roberts stood before the Council of Earth, reading the message from the Galactic Council. She had heard rumors about the Council's troubles, but she hadn't imagined they would come to Earth for help. "What do we do?" asked General Michael Harris, a seasoned leader of the Earth Defense Force. He was known for his tough exterior, but even he seemed uncertain. "We do what we always do," Alina said, her voice calm but firm. "We fight. We help, but on our terms." The room fell silent. The idea of working with the Galactic Council wasn't a popular one. Many people on Earth still remembered the way the Council had treated them: ignored, dismissed, and left alone. The Council had never once asked for humanity's help when they faced their own challenges. Why should they help now? But there was something about the situation that made Alina pause. The Council was desperate. They had failed, and now they had come to Earth, to humans, who they had once considered nothing more than a footnote in the galaxy's history. "We can't just turn our backs on them," Alina said, her eyes narrowing. "If they lose, it will be a disaster for everyone. We're not just doing this for them. We're doing it for us. If the enemy wins, no one is safe." General Harris nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of the situation. He had been in enough battles to know that sometimes you didn't have the luxury of picking sides. You just had to do what was necessary. "We can't do it the way they do," Harris said, his voice low. "They think in fleets and armies, but we think differently. We're smarter, faster. We don't play by their rules, and that's how we'll win." Alina smiled. Exactly. The council wants help, but they don't get to dictate how we do things. We'll help them, on our terms. It wasn't long before humanity began preparing for the war. Ships were built, soldiers trained, and resources gathered. Earth's best engineers worked day and night to modify their technology, making it stronger, faster, and more efficient. The world came together, despite their differences, to face the challenge that lay ahead. But not everyone was ready to trust the Council. There were many who felt betrayed, who thought that Earth should remain isolated, far from the politics of the galaxy. They saw the Council as weak and unworthy of their help. But Alina knew something that the rest of the galaxy did not. Humans were stronger than anyone realized. And now, with the threat hanging over them all, it was time for humanity to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The message to the Galactic Council was simple. We will help, but we do it our way. We fight on our terms. And if you don't like it, you can find someone else to save you. It was a bold move. But Alina was certain that humanity's unique approach to war, unpredictable, fierce, and relentless, was exactly what the galaxy needed. As Earth prepared for battle, the people of the galaxy watched in silence. They had never seen humans fight like this, and soon they would understand just how dangerous it was to underestimate them. The Galactic Council waited in anxious silence as the human fleet prepared to arrive. The council members sat in their grand hall, each species too proud or too scared to admit that they had no other choice. They had begged for help, and now it was time to face the consequences of their desperation. Chancellor Varric, the massive reptilian leader of the council, paced nervously. His scales glistened in the light, but his mind was troubled. What if humans were just as unpredictable as the rumors said? What if they refused to help, or worse, took control of the entire galaxy? There's no turning back now, Varric said to the others, his voice deep and full of concern. We need them. We will negotiate, but we must be careful. They are not like us. We can't trust them completely. Trust is a luxury we don't have. Ambassador Grell, the sharp-taloned bird-like creature, replied. We have to make this deal with caution. They've never wanted to be part of the galaxy. What makes us think they will help us now? You forget, Elder Rin said softly, his ancient voice carrying wisdom. Humans don't act out of fear. They act out of pride. They will do this not because we asked, but because they want to show us their strength. Despite Rin's calming words, doubt lingered in the air. The Council had underestimated humans for centuries, and now they feared the consequences of that mistake. Across the galaxy, on Earth, President Alina Roberts stood in front of her team, preparing for the final stage of their negotiations. The Council had sent an envoy, a group of ambassadors to speak on behalf of the galaxy's ruling powers. They were expected to land on Earth in a matter of hours. Alina knew this moment would change everything for humanity. She had no illusions about the Council's true motives. They didn't see humans as equals. They saw them as a tool to be used. But Alina wasn't about to let Earth be manipulated. She wasn't about to let humanity be just another pawn in a game that didn't belong to them. We need to be strong, Alina told her team. We don't beg. We don't beg anyone. We're going into this with our heads held high, and we're going to make them understand that they need us more than we need them. General Michael Harris stood beside her, his military experience clear in his posture. We'll show them that our way of fighting is different. They'll be lucky to survive if we do this our way. The humans were ready, but the Galactic Council was nervous. As the human delegation arrived, the air was thick with tension. The leaders of the Council stood waiting, staring at the sleek ships that descended slowly toward the planet's surface. When the human ships landed, there was no grand greeting, no parade. The humans came with no fanfare. They walked into the council chambers dressed in simple, practical uniforms, but their presence was commanding. Alina and Harris were at the front, their eyes sharp and determined. The council members stood in front of them, their postures formal, but their minds racing. "Welcome to Earth," Elena said calmly. "You asked for our help, and here we are. But let's be clear, this is not a one-sided favor. We're not your servants. We don't do things your way. You came to us because you failed. Now we will show you how to win." Her words were simple, but they hit hard. The council was used to giving orders, not receiving them. But in this moment, they understood. Humans were not like them. The pride and strength in Elena's voice made it clear that this would be a partnership, but not one where they would dominate. Chancellor Varrock stepped forward, trying to maintain control of the situation. "We understand your terms, President Roberts," he said, his voice thick with tension. "But this is a war, not a game. We don't have time for pride." Elena's eyes met his. "This is not a game, Chancellor. This is survival. If you want to win, you'll need to understand that humans don't play by the rules you're used to. We fight differently. We think differently. And that's why we're here." Ambassador Grell, still unsure about humans, leaned in to whisper to the Chancellor, "Are we sure we can trust them?" Varrock paused, his eyes scanning Elena and her team. He knew the answer. "We have no choice." The humans were strong, clever, and unafraid. They could help, but only if the Council agreed to let them fight on their terms. "Let's get one thing straight," Elena said, her voice steady and confident. "We'll help you defeat this enemy, but we'll do it our way. If you want our fleets, our soldiers, our technology, then you follow our rules. We take command, and we make the decisions. Otherwise, you'll be on your own." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had no other options. Despite their pride, despite their past dismissals of humanity, they knew that Earth's help was their only chance. Finally, Chancellor Varrock nodded. "We accept. We will do things your way. But know this, President Roberts, this is not a sign of weakness. This is a sign of our willingness to do whatever it takes to survive." Elena smiled. "That's all we need to hear." As the deal was made, the galaxy's fate shifted. The humans were in control now, and the Galactic Council had no choice but to follow their lead. The enemy had underestimated humanity's power, and soon they would learn that underestimating humans was the last mistake they'd ever make. The moment the deal was made, humanity swung into action. The Galactic Council had agreed to their terms, and now it was time for Earth to show the galaxy just what they were capable of. There was no more waiting around. The humans had a mission to complete, and they would not fail. President Elena Roberts stood in her office, looking at the massive screens that showed the progress of humanity's preparations. Every corner of the Earth was involved, every country, every city. There was no room for mistakes. Every soldier, engineer, and scientist was working day and night to get the planet ready for war. The stakes were higher than they had ever been before. The entire galaxy's future rested on their shoulders. General Michael Harris was at the forefront of the military operations. His job was to make sure the human forces were ready for anything. The enemy might have underestimated humanity's strength, but now they would see how powerful and determined humans could be when they had a cause. "General Harris," a young officer said, walking into the command room, "we're ready to begin training the new recruits. They're eager, but they need guidance. We have to teach them fast. We can't afford to waste time." Harris turned to look at the officer. "Give them the best training we have. Show them the human way. We don't play fair. We don't follow the rules. But we win. And that's all that matters. They'll have to fight harder, think faster, and never give up. Because that's how we win." The officer nodded. And with that, the training began. Earth's military was already one of the most powerful in the galaxy, but now they had to prepare for something new. They would face enemies the likes of which they had never seen before, aliens with technology far beyond their own. But humans were quick learners. They would adapt. As the soldiers trained, Earth's engineers worked tirelessly on their fleet. The ships were massive, far bigger and more advanced than any the galaxy had ever seen. There was no shortage of resources, no lack of creativity. Humans could make anything work if they put their minds to it. They had learned how to survive on their own planet for centuries, and now they would take that knowledge to the stars. In secret laboratories, Earth's brightest minds worked on new weapons. Weapons that were designed to level the playing field. Weapons that could pierce through the toughest armor, destroy the strongest shields, and break the will of even the most ruthless enemies. Humans had always relied on their ingenuity, and now that ingenuity would be their greatest weapon. "We have to make sure we have the advantage," Elena said during a meeting with her top military advisors. "We don't know what the enemy will throw at us, but we do know one thing. They won't expect us to fight the way we do. We'll use that to our advantage. We'll hit them where it hurts." The advisors nodded in agreement. They knew Elena was right. The human way of fighting was unpredictable. Where others relied on pure power, humans used strategy, deception, and cleverness. And now they would show the galaxy that those things were just as deadly as any weapon. Meanwhile, the rest of the world watched as their military forces prepared for war. People who had never imagined fighting on an intergalactic scale were suddenly part of something much bigger. The sense of unity on Earth was overwhelming. It didn't matter where people came from or what language they spoke. They were all part of the same mission now. They were all part of the same fight for survival. In every corner of Earth, there was a feeling of hope, mixed with fear. The humans knew they had no choice but to succeed. If they failed, the galaxy would fall, and they would all be wiped out. But they also knew they had something the other species didn't have: a reason to fight. They had the will to survive, the strength to protect their home, and the pride to show the galaxy they could win. The final stages of preparation came quickly. Soldiers were deployed to training camps, engineers worked around the clock, and the world's leaders met regularly to make sure everything was running smoothly. They were all in this together, and they knew that if they failed, it would not just be a failure for Earth, it would be a failure for every living thing in the galaxy. General Harris stood on the deck of one of the new warships, watching as the fleet assembled. The massive ships, gleaming in the light of the nearby sun, were a symbol of humanity's strength. It was a sight that would send fear through the hearts of anyone who dared to challenge Earth. "We're ready," Harris said, looking out at the ships. "Now we just have to show them what we can do." Elena stood beside him, her gaze focused on the ships as well. "We're ready to fight, and we'll win, because we're human. And when humans fight, they never stop." As the humans prepared to leave for the galaxy's front lines, one thing was certain: the enemy would not know what hit them. The battle had only just begun, but Earth was ready. And the galaxy would soon learn that the humans were a force they could not ignore. The day had finally arrived. Earth's fleet was ready. The humans were ready. The galaxy was about to witness the true power of humanity, and the battle for survival was about to begin. President Elena Roberts stood on the command bridge of the flagship, watching as Earth's fleet assembled in the vast expanse of space. The stars were a cold, distant reminder of how far they had come, and how much they had to lose. "General Harris, report," Elena said calmly, her eyes never leaving the screens ahead. "We're in position, Madam President. All ships are ready for the attack. The enemy forces are in range. We can strike whenever you give the word." General Harris replied, his voice steady, but with a hint of excitement. The time had come. The humans were no longer observers in the galaxy's fight for survival. They were the ones leading the charge. Elena nodded. "Give the order. It's time to show the galaxy who we are." On the other side of the battlefield, the enemy, an alliance of alien forces who had terrorized the galaxy for years, had no idea what was coming. They had spent their time underestimating humanity, thinking that Earth's defenses were weak and that they would easily crush the humans like they had crushed so many other civilizations before. But the galaxy had forgotten one thing: humans were not like other species. "Prepare to fire," General Harris shouted, his voice carrying through the comm system. The ships rumbled as they activated their weapons, powerful energy blasts charging up and ready to fire. The first shot rang out, a blast of energy so powerful that it lit up the darkness of space. It struck the enemy's lead ship, piercing its shield like a hot knife through butter. The ship exploded in a burst of light, its crew too shocked to react. The humans had arrived, and they weren't holding back. The enemy quickly regrouped, firing their own weapons, but they were no match for Earth's defenses. The humans had spent months preparing, building new technologies, perfecting their strategies. Every ship in Earth's fleet was equipped with the best weapons, the strongest shields, and the most advanced tactics. The aliens had their technology, but the humans had something they didn't: determination. "We've breached their outer defenses," one of the officers on the bridge reported. "The enemy is falling back." Alina's eyes flickered with a hint of a smile. This was exactly what she had hoped for. The humans were quick, clever, and relentless. They were pushing the aliens back, one ship at a time. The battle raged on, each side exchanging fire in a deadly dance of light and death. But the humans were not afraid. They were not intimidated. They fought with everything they had: every ship, every soldier, every weapon. Everything was on the line, and they knew they would not fail. In the heart of the battlefield, General Harris stood at the front of his ship, giving orders and keeping his focus sharp. "Don't let up. Hit them with everything we've got. Take out their main command ship." The humans were relentless. Each blast from Earth's fleet sent shockwaves through the enemy lines. The alien ships crumbled under the force of the attack, their shields breaking apart as if they were made of paper. The humans were proving their strength, and the aliens were starting to panic. "Retreat," one of the alien commanders shouted through the comms. But it was too late. The humans were already closing in. There would be no escape. On Earth, every human who had been watching the battle on their screens cheered as their fleet took control of the battlefield. News broadcasts showed the images of the battle unfolding, and the people of Earth saw their soldiers fighting with all their might. The entire planet was united in this moment. No one could ignore the strength of humanity now. "Command ship is down," a voice on the bridge shouted. "We've won. The enemy is retreating." A cheer erupted across Earth's fleet, but Alina remained calm. The battle wasn't over yet. There was still much to do. The humans had won this round, but the galaxy had seen how strong they were. Now it was time to finish what they had started. "Don't celebrate yet," Alina said, her voice cutting through the cheers. "We've pushed them back, but we're not done. Keep your focus. There's still more work to do. Let's make sure the galaxy knows this is only the beginning." General Harris nodded. "Understood, Madam President. We'll finish this once and for all." As the enemy retreated, the humans continued their relentless pursuit. They didn't stop, not for a moment. They fought with the fury of a species that had been underestimated for far too long. The galaxy would remember this day, and when the dust finally settled, when the last of the enemy ships had been driven away, Earth stood victorious. The humans had won. The galaxy would never forget the day they realized that humanity was not a species to be taken lightly. Alina stood on the bridge, looking at the vastness of space. She knew this battle was only the first step. The humans had proven their strength, but the galaxy was still full of dangers, and Earth would be ready. "We've shown them what we can do," she said softly. "Now, let's make sure they never forget." The battle had been won. Earth's fleet had emerged victorious, and the enemy was retreating, their forces scattered across the galaxy. But the cost of that victory was heavy. The humans had shown the galaxy their strength, but they had paid a price. On the bridge of Earth's flagship, President Alina Roberts stood in silence, staring at the vastness of space. The victory had been hard-earned, but now, as the dust settled, the reality of what had been lost began to sink in. "We did it," General Harris said, his voice filled with a mix of pride and sadness. "We defeated them, but at what cost?" Elena didn't answer right away. She had seen the reports. Too many ships lost, too many lives. Earth's fleet had been strong, but no force, no matter how powerful, could avoid the toll of war. Soldiers who had fought with bravery and determination would never return. Families would never see their loved ones again. The galaxy had seen Earth's strength, but it had also seen the price of that strength. The war was over, but the pain of the losses would linger for a long time. "Prepare the list of casualties," Elena said, her voice firm despite the sadness in her heart. "We need to honor them. The galaxy needs to know the cost of underestimating humanity." General Harris nodded, turning to give the orders. There was work to do, and it was far from over. But even in victory, there was a heavy burden to carry. As the fleet began its return to Earth, the people on the planet looked up at the sky, knowing that the battle had been won, but also feeling the weight of the loss. The war had taken its toll. Families who had celebrated the news of the victory now mourned the soldiers who would never come home. In cities around the world, memorials were being set up. Walls were covered with the names of the fallen, the faces of soldiers who had given everything for the planet and its future. And as people walked past, they stopped to pay their respects, some with tears in their eyes, others with a quiet determination. The war had been necessary, but it had cost them dearly. Elena visited one of the memorials herself, walking among the rows of names. She stopped at a plaque that read, "In honor of those who gave everything for the survival of humanity." She ran her fingers over the cold metal, remembering the faces of the soldiers she had met, the faces of those who had fought beside her in the war. One of them had been her own brother, David. He had been a fighter, strong and determined. He had stood at her side in the darkest hours, and now he was gone. He had been among the first to volunteer when the call to fight had gone out. He had never hesitated, even knowing the risks. Tears welled in Elena's eyes, but she held them back. She had promised herself she would stay strong, for the people who had lost their loved ones, for the soldiers who had fought for a cause greater than themselves. They couldn't be forgotten. She would make sure of that. It was worth it, Elena whispered to herself. He gave his life for this, for all of us, and he's not forgotten. As the days passed, the reality of the cost of the war became more apparent. The human race had achieved something unimaginable, something that would go down in history as one of the most decisive victories the galaxy had ever seen. But they had also lost something precious. They had lost their innocence. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's strength, but now they would also see their humanity. The humans didn't just fight with power. They fought with heart, with love for their families, their planet, and each other. The cost of the victory had been steep, but the humans had paid it willingly because they knew there was no other choice. "I wish it hadn't come to this," General Harris said during a briefing. "I wish we could have avoided this war, but we couldn't. And now we have to live with the consequences." Elena nodded. "We will, and we will honor those who gave everything. But we also have to remember that this is not the end. We can't let this be the end." The war had ended, but the scars of the battle would remain. The humans had fought with everything they had, and they had won. But now they had to rebuild. They had to heal. "We rebuild together," Elena said, her voice resolute. "And we carry on for those we lost, for those who gave their lives for this victory." As Earth's fleet made its way back to the planet, the people of Earth knew that the war had been won, but they also knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The galaxy would never forget the humans, but the true test of humanity's strength was yet to come. They had fought for survival, and they had won. But now, they had to live with the consequences and move forward together. The war was over. The battle had been fought, and the galaxy had witnessed the strength of humanity. But now, after the smoke cleared and the debris of war scattered in the cold expanse of space, a new chapter was beginning. Earth's victory was not just a moment of triumph. It was the beginning of something much bigger. President Elena Roberts stood on the balcony of the Earth Command Center, overlooking the vast city below. The streets were filled with people. Some were celebrating the victory, others mourning their losses, but all of them knew that Earth had changed forever. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, and now they would be watching. The world, too, was watching, waiting for the next step. "We did it," Elena whispered to herself, feeling a quiet sense of pride. It was hard to believe. The pain of the war still lingered, but there was hope now. A new hope for the future. Behind her, General Harris stepped up. His uniform was stained, his face tired from the long days of battle, but his eyes were clear, filled with a sense of purpose. "Madam President," he began, his voice steady, "the time has come. We need to rebuild, not just Earth, but the galaxy. We've shown them our strength, but now we need to show them our unity. It's time for us to lead." Elena turned to face him, nodding slowly. She knew he was right. The battle was over, but the true work was just beginning. Earth had won, but now it had to ensure peace in the galaxy, something that had never been easy, but now was necessary more than ever. "We must make sure that what we fought for doesn't slip away," Elena said. "The victory was hard-earned, but the challenge now is to keep this peace." In the days that followed, Earth's leaders began working on a new plan, one that would ensure that the galaxy would never forget the price humanity had paid. They knew that there would always be enemies, but they also knew that there were allies now as well. The galaxy had seen the power of Earth, but they had also seen the compassion of humanity. The humans had not only fought for survival, they had fought for the survival of everyone. "We need to extend a hand to those who need help," General Harris said during a meeting. "The war left its scars, but there are others who are struggling. We can't just leave them behind. We must be the light that leads them." Elena agreed. "We fight for each other. We always have. The galaxy may have underestimated us before, but they won't again. And it's our duty to show them what true strength is, not just in battle, but in peace." As Earth worked to rebuild its cities, its economy, and its people, the humans began reaching out to the civilizations they had once feared. The message was clear: Earth would no longer stand alone. The galaxy would stand with them, or they would help those who needed it, no matter the cost. The first step was to establish a new council, a council where humans would be leaders, not just participants. Earth had earned its place at the table. But this wasn't about power, it was about unity. The galaxy needed to know that humans were not just warriors, but diplomats, healers, and builders. "We're going to help rebuild what was lost," Elena announced to the people. "The galaxy isn't just our battlefield anymore, it's our home, and we will make it a home for everyone." As the weeks went by, Earth's fleet began working with other species to help restore what had been destroyed in the war. They brought supplies, resources, and most importantly, knowledge. The humans had learned much in their fight. They had learned how to work together, how to fight as one. And now, they would share that knowledge with the galaxy. The first new peace talks took place at a neutral station on the edge of the galaxy. Representatives from various species, including those who had once been enemies, gathered in a large, brightly lit hall. It was a symbol of everything humanity had fought for. Elena stood at the front of the hall, addressing the assembly. "The war is over, but the real challenge begins now. We must rebuild what was broken, and we must do it together. We've shown that we can fight for our survival. Now, let's show that we can fight for each other." The room was filled with a quiet sense of agreement. The galaxy had seen the strength of humanity in battle. Now, they would see it in peace. As the peace talks continued, Earth's fleet remained vigilant, but their focus had shifted. No longer just a weapon of war, they were now symbols of hope, strength, and unity. Humans had shown the galaxy that they were not just conquerors. They were survivors, they were builders, and they were willing to work together for a better future. "We've won the battle," Elena said quietly to herself as she stood at the balcony, watching the sun set over Earth's cities. "But the real victory is just beginning." The humans had fought to protect their world, and now they were fighting for the future of the galaxy. It was a new beginning, and this time, they would not fight alone.